on certain occasions in our lives, whether it's because of our work or certain types of activities that we do in our daily lives, we find ourselves in somewhat strange situations. Many times they are good and others not so much. But generally, these are experiences that mark us for life. The story I'm going to tell you today, it was sent to me by Christopher, a young security guard, that in one of his many night shifts, he suffered an experience that changed his life forever. From now on, I ask you please to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This helps the channel a lot and allow these stories to reach more people. Remember that without your help, this would not be possible. Now yes, let's start with today's story. My name is Christopher, and I work as a security guard for almost 10 years. And the experience that I am going to tell you about, it happened about 5 years ago, in one of the many mansions in the city of Beverly Hills. Usually my guards, I almost always do them in shops or luxury stores in the area. But this time, I had to cover the vacations of one of my colleagues. This colleague, he was keeping guard in an old mansion from the said neighborhood. The shift was at night, so I told myself that those 2 weeks, I was going to pass them pretty quiet. Today, looking at the distance and without doubts about it, I can assure you that he was totally wrong. That Saturday I headed from Montebello, the city where I live, towards my destination. I left home at around 9 at night. I got in the car. I gave it boost. Tuned the radio. And I started the trip to Beverly Hills. The trip is not long, and it passed very calmly. When I arrive at my destination, I meet the companion, who I had to relieve. I greet him, I ask if everything was quiet. And he tells me that yes, that the joke begins at night. I looked at him and smiled, because I didn't understand the reference, and I asked him, why? And he tells me, you'll find out. At that moment, I played down. He gave me the keys. He gave me a couple of instructions and he tells me, when you do the rounds, to mark the checkpoints, or reference points. Try not to take too long. I told him, it's okay. We said goodbye. He got in his car and left. The first thing I noticed upon entering the guardhouse, it was the amount of crucifixes that there were. One was hanging on the inside of the door frame, another in the window of the guardhouse, and another at the top, where the surveillance monitors were located. I said to myself, wow, these guys are really Catholic. I opened one of the drawers to be able to leave a couple of books that he had brought, and other things more, and I find myself with a Bible, which was open in the Psalms, more specifically in Psalm 23. I looked at her for a few seconds, closed the drawer and said to myself, yes, it's as I thought. My colleagues are very Catholic, being already accommodated, and having spent a couple of hours since I had arrived. While I made myself a coffee, one of the waypoint alarms starts to sound. He stopped what he was doing. I look at the cameras to see if I could see anything. I thought, maybe some animal activated the alarm, but I don't see anything. I told myself, well, before I drink my coffee, and since it's almost time for me to make my rounds, I'd better check that it's nothing, and so later I can sit quietly. I should mention to you that the property was empty. The owners had gone on vacation, and the only security guard there was me. I took my flashlight and headed towards the landmark, to which the alarm had been activated, already on the way, along the path that leads you to the main entrance of the mansion. I notice a silhouette in the distance, like that of a woman. I told myself, what? From what I noticed at the time, she seemed to be wearing a long dark gray dress. I told myself, it can't be. And that? Who is it? I rubbed my eyes to look more attentively, but when I look again, there was nobody. At that moment I thought, I must be imagining things. I keep walking, already illuminating with my flashlight towards the park area of said mansion. And when I'm crossing the area where the pool is, arriving at the front door, I feel as if someone ran behind me. And even if you don't believe me, and I can swear to you, I hear the laughter of a child. I instantly turn around, shining the flashlight on, but I can't see anyone. At that moment, you can't imagine the fear I felt. A chill traveled on my body. I hurried to deactivate the alarm. I turned around and at a brisk pace, I left again, for the guardhouse. While I was coming back, I was telling myself inside myself, it's nothing, Christopher. Now we go. We look at the cameras, and you'll see that there's nothing. When I get to the guardhouse, I open the door, and I see lying on the floor the crucifix that was hung on the inside frame of the door. At that moment I thought that maybe when I opened the door, doing so abruptly, possibly fell. I picked it up, put it on the desk, and I got ready to look at the monitors. The truth is that I spent 10 minutes observing carefully, rewinding the video, to see if when I went to the front door I could see someone. But I didn't see anyone. After 10 minutes and already given up, believing that it was all a product of my imagination, I sit and out of the corner of my eye, I notice in the corner of the desk an object. I turn my head to observe well what it was, and I tell myself, and that what is it?
It was a toy, bro. I told myself. And this toy, where did it come from? I assure you that at no time had I seen it. And that was impossible, since the security booth is not very big. And on the desks, there is almost nothing. The coffee pot, a couple of brochures and forms, some folders, and the occasional pen.
I approach, I grab it, and I see that it is a small toy car. But it was one of those kind of old cars, completely made of metal, like those little race cars from the 80s. After that, the night passed without major problems. The next morning my relief arrives and asks me, and how did you spend your first night? I told him, fine, all calm. The truth is, I didn't want to tell him anything about what happened. I didn't want to be taken for crazy, or that they think that he was using some type of substance. During the weekdays everything went smoothly, except for the alarms that were activated for no apparent reason. I did not see or hear anything strange again, until the blessed Saturday arrived. That night, one of the alarms is activated again, more precisely the one at the entrance door of said mansion. But this time it was 2:30 in the morning. I take my flashlight again. I head towards the reference point, and while I'm bordering the pool, I feel like someone pushes me from the side of my body, making me lose balance, which inevitably makes me fall into the pool. As I fall, insulting for what happened, I hear the laughter of that child again, already once in the water and semi-submerged, trying to come out. And while I'm looking to get to the surface, I see on the edge of the swimming pool, or I believe I have seen, that same woman in the long dark gray dress that I mentioned before. But this time next to her was a boy, and they were both looking. As I was trying to float out of the pool, when I managed to reach the edge of the pool, and I can take a little oxygen, already shaken by what happened, I raise my head, looking for these two people, beings, ghost entities, or I don't know, call them what you want. And again I can't see anyone. From now, let me tell you that, as soon as I manage to get out of the pool and get up again, I take my flashlight, that he had fallen on the side of the pool, and I run towards the security booth. I went in, I locked the security booth, and the first thing I did was open the drawer, grab the Bible, pray, and begin to read Psalms 23. I didn't get out of there again until the other day when my relief arrived. And that day I said, I'm not coming back here anymore.
Honestly, I don't know what was in that place, who died, who didn't die. But never again. I go back to work at night and only in those kinds of mansions.
Let me tell you that after that day, or rather that night, having one more week to complete the guard of that place, I flatly refused to continue going, which unfailingly ended in my dismissal. The truth is, I didn't care. Soon after, I got a job at another company, also as a security guard, and it's to this day that I'm still there. Something I forgot to tell you is that
day I get home, I take off my shirt to take a shower, and my wife tells me, "What happened to you there?" I ask her where, and she tells me there on the side. I look in the mirror, and I had a big black bruise, as if she had given me a strong blow. I didn't want to tell her anything so as not to scare her, and I only said that I had fallen at work.
A few months after what happened to me, one Sunday off, I started to make some repairs to the car. It was hot, so my youngest son, he was playing in the yard of the house. I look at him, and I ask him, "What are you playing, son?"
To nothing, Daddy.
I approach, to see that he is well, and in his hand, I see that little race car, that on that occasion, he had found, at the top of the desk in the security booth. Don't ask me how it got into my son's hands or who gave it to him, or if I inadvertently brought it home. The truth is that to this day, it's impossible to take that little car off. That day, I tried to get it out of him, but it was impossible. The tantrum he threw was such that he managed to get his mother to come and take him inside the house.
The truth is that I didn't want to say anything to my wife about that toy, nor how she had found it. And since my son has a small degree of autism, I decided to leave things as they were. What I did do, it was taking my son to church, to be blessed. And to that little car, I spilled a bottle of holy water on it.
And well, friends, this is the end of today's story. Leave me in the comments, what do you think these entities were? Or if they were two souls in pain, that due to some misfortune, they had had a tragic end in that house. From now on, I send a big hug to all of you.